first of all, it's really important that each of us has this direct experience of what we're speaking about here. And we have different terms for that, but the one that we have been using is open intelligence pervaded by love. And to introduce yourself to open intelligence pervaded by love, just stop thinking for a moment and notice what remains. There's an alertness, there's a cognizance, there's something that's aware of everything that's going on. Another term for this is awareness. It really doesn't matter what you call it, but it's really key that you have this direct and instinctive recognition of what we're speaking about. It's the intelligence that's looking through your eyes, hearing through your ears, sensing everything that's going on right now. You don't need to describe it or try and pin it down. That's impossible, but just to acknowledge it and to notice it. So that's the introduction to the fundamental nature of mind, the capacity to know. And then the practice here is to take short moments of acknowledging this raw, naked intelligence and resting as that. Stopping the obsessive and incessant focus on all of the ever-changing descriptions, which we can simply call data, or a stream of data. And in each short moment, what we're doing is shifting the emphasis from our descriptions about what's going on, the thoughts, emotions and sensations, to this fundamental open intelligence, the basis of all of our descriptions. And in that, what we see is many things, but one of the key points is that of inseparability. So the only place that we get to recognize this fundamental nature of mind is in the descriptions. It's not in getting rid of the descriptions. It's a short moment of allowing the descriptions to be as they are, that we get to recognize what the actual nature of the description is. We've been behaving and relating as if the descriptions had an independent nature. So an example of that could be the thought or the feeling of lack of confidence or feeling uncomfortable in a social situation. So for me, I would deal with that kind of feeling or sensation in various ways. The most obvious one would be to leave the situation. You know, I'm feeling uncomfortable in this social situation, or I'm feeling what I've described as a lack of confidence, so I just leave. Or even before that, if I suspect that I might not feel comfortable, I won't even go to the party or the gathering or the group or whatever it is. So that's a way to sort of avoid this feeling. Other ways I would have of dealing with it would be to replace it with other feelings, which is another way of saying getting really drunk and stoned. So instead of feeling the social anxiety, I'd numb it out, or I'd drink so much that I just forgot it was there, and I could pretend to be confident. And it kind of works, but the social anxiety just comes back at another time, and then you just have to drink or smoke more or do whatever it is that you do in those party situations to get rid of that feeling of discomfort. And that's hard work, and in the long term it's not sustainable. And so there are these different approaches and strategies we have to this feeling of lack of social confidence, and we learn how to develop, how to deal with it, and we learn this from the people that we're around, our society and our friends and family and culture, and so that's really normal. And then coming to this teaching and this practice of short moments, you're introduced to a completely different option. You're introduced to the option of not doing anything with the feeling of social anxiety. Not doing anything with it. Just for a short moment. Because what you're doing when you're either avoiding it or you're indulging it, either thinking about how terrible it is, you have these thoughts and these feelings, or you're replacing it with lots of different antidotes or strategies. Maybe it's just an intellectual strategy. I am confident, I'm going to be the life and soul of the party, come on, this is still hard work, because the thoughts come back, no, I am confident. And instead of any of these strategies or approaches, we're introduced to a different approach of a short moment of just stopping the descriptions around any thought, emotion or sensation, allowing social anxiety just to be as it is for a short moment. So this is not an antidote like any of the others, because with all of the other approaches, we're hoping that the social anxiety will go away so that we can feel okay. We're trying to avoid it so that we can feel okay, or we're replacing it, or we're numbing it so that we can feel okay. In this approach, we're not looking for anything to change, we're simply recognizing what is the social anxiety. What is it? So this is key, and for me this was like fascinating. I'm exploring my own experience from this position of complete clarity and openness, this relaxed openness that I find in a short moment of just stopping describing. What is the social anxiety? Well, the first thing that I saw was that it was just another data stream appearing in open intelligence. It didn't have an independent nature, and I had been behaving as if it had an independent nature. And these behaviours and these strategies had made it seem more and more like it did have this independent nature. And so to take one short moment with something like social anxiety, it's so powerful. Like really, really powerful. Like the empowerment that comes from allowing that to be as it is. The insight, the compassion that comes firstly for yourself. Is everything all right? A lizard, okay. He's allowed. The compassion that comes from saying, well, what have I been doing to myself for all of these years? This desire for my experience to look a particular way, i.e. not to have social anxiety, has been the cause of great confusion and suffering. So what happens when I simply allow the social anxiety to be as it is? Just without describing it, without elaborating it, without trying to get rid of it, without indulging the stories about it, without trying to numb it, just for an instant to allow it to be as it is, whilst relying on the open intelligence that is the basis of that particular perception. Now, I'm not going to tell you what happens, because this training is all about you finding out what happens when you take a short moment with that feeling of social anxiety. Like go away and find out. And this is empowerment, is really finding out what is the nature of your experience for yourself. And one of the most beautiful pieces of advice I was given in this teaching, along with many incredible pieces of advice, was to be gentle with myself. You know, I've been dealing with social anxiety in particular ways for decades. So this habit of dealing with it in all of these ways, these strategies, just because now I've recognised and had this introduction to the nature of mind, this vast, bright intelligence that is stable and strong, and had this instinctive recognition that whatever is appearing is nothing other than the dynamic energy of this appearance, bang, woo! To stabilise that recognition for me has been a really gradual process. So this is getting real about this process. Just because I've had this instinctive recognition doesn't mean that I still won't get caught up in these old habits and old ways of behaving. And so this is why we have the support network here that you heard about, the 4 mainstays. Like trying to do it on your own, even after you've seen and know the nature of reality. I tried it, it's impossible. Like the descriptions, they're so enticing. And you get so caught up in them before you even realise what's going on. So the support is there precisely because it's the descriptions and the habit to emphasise them is so strong. We've been practicing that for many years. Now we're practicing allowing the descriptions to be as they are. And it's a practice. You know, one analogy we use is learning to ride a bike. Is there anyone here that can't ride a bicycle? Okay, was there anyone here born knowing how to ride a bicycle? Okay, this is interesting. So somewhere along the line we learned how to ride a bicycle. Now, I can still remember, and I was on like the garden, we had a bit of grass, and learning to ride the bike, and this new bike, and it was a bit big, and my dad was sort of holding me, and it had these 2 stabilisers on, you know, the little wheels that go on the side, and they were really embarrassing. You know, like you didn't want stabilisers on, but I was kind of happy they were there, and trying to pedal, and it was It's just like I can remember. It's like there's these two wheels, and there's nothing. It's like there's. How do you balance on this? And I remember thinking this is really difficult. But I had the support of my dad. He was helping me. I'd seen the other kids like going round really fast around the block, so I knew it could be done. I'd seen other people doing it. And I would take one pedal and then just slip off to the side and lose my balance, but I just continued on. And now, probably like all of you, I don't need to think about riding a bicycle. You get on and you pedal away. So this is like a practice. Practice short pedals repeated many times until it becomes automatic. It's the same with allowing everything to be as it is. Practicing until it becomes so automatic that this is what is happening. And this is what is happening anyway. Everything is as it is. Everything is appearing spontaneously and self-releasing naturally. That's just what it's doing. It's the struggle with it, the struggle to try and direct it in certain directions that causes the tension, the confusion and the suffering. So in each short moment we end suffering. We're just allowing everything to be as it is. And I was practicing, I think yesterday, with feeling. It was even hard to try and find, sort of pin down the descriptions, but I wasn't feeling very happy or confident or enthusiastic. And it was great to see these sort of thoughts and feelings arise. And initially there was a sort of desire to go into, this is because of this, and I didn't sleep well, and maybe I shouldn't have eaten, and no, hold on. Just rest naturally for a short moment. So powerful to allow these negative descriptions to be as they are. Because what you're seeing then, that all is well regardless of the descriptions. And for me, it was easier with the positive ones. So I practiced when it was easy for me. It was easy when I was in the open meeting, when I was sat on my own in nature. So that's when I practiced. And for other people it's different. Just practice whenever you naturally remember. Do what supports you in making it easy. And you do see the confidence growing. You see your capacity to rest naturally increasing. It's so simple, this process. It's not really difficult to understand. It's just showing up and doing your best. One of the habits that I had learned in terms of describing my experience was extreme negativity and criticism. I was going to say just towards myself, and it's initially towards myself, but then actually included everybody. So I would be critical of almost everything that I said and did and didn't say and didn't do, and so karma could be another way that I'd learned to put myself down or limit my capacity to recognise the nature of reality. I can't rely on open intelligence because of my karma. That wasn't a big story for me because of my cultural upbringing. I had other ones. I can't rely on open intelligence because I'm not a good person. I can't rely on open intelligence because I smoke. I can't rely on open intelligence because I have so many horrible thoughts. And these are all just stories that I've been telling myself. Open intelligence is the basis of all of those stories, as it's the basis of all of the descriptions and thoughts around karma. So to have the keenest insight, you need to recognise the basis of the thoughts around karma, of the belief systems. What is the basis of them all? Not as an idea, but as this instinctive recognition, this bright open intelligence that knows and sees everything, and to rest there whilst these thoughts or feelings occur. Short moments, repeated many times, until continuous at all times.